time. I mean, it was literally white bottles with Sharpie on it, in the early 2000s, giving it straight to growers well before we put it on the market at all, and so for us, I feel like that is one of the things that truly makes us a little bit different and why I can call it a plant-specific nutrient line. I love your experience there, and I'm going to give you a shameless plug. This is a guy saying he's trying to get in the real connoisseur stuff, and he just won second place at the DGC Cup. Come on now. Yeah, the guy grows some good herb. So
it's good, but there's always.
We're Jug Dealers. We're the podcast you need in your feed. Teaching the game like you never seen. Jared, Gabe, Rambo, true OGs. Masters of the globe, set your mind free. From Denver, Colorado, where the dead is green. We set the data points for the SOPs. Jug Dealers Podcast, yes indeed.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of the Jug Dealers. We had an unexpected couple of visitors today. But first off, obviously, welcome back, everybody. And, we're here in the Jug Den and doing the Jug Dealers Podcast, which is everything cannabis and lifestyle related. So, without further ado, we had a couple gentlemen that stopped by, one being a longtime New Millennium user and another being a new to be on the team, first time New Millennium user. Why don't you guys do us a favor and introduce yourselves and, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you've been doing, what's the brands you guys work with, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Kyle Allen. I've been running New Millennium now for over 10 years. I've ran it in commercial facilities. I've ran it with a bunch of other nutrients from Plagrin and other brands, and I always come back to the New Millennium. Obviously, a huge fan of Jair and Dutch Lighting Innovations.
Yeah, DLI, baby.
Yeah, running their 1,000-watt HPSs. I have a 30-light indoor that I run, built from the ground up, and everything is New Millennium, Plagrin, DLI. Can't go wrong with any of them. So
yes, sir. Again, it was a nice surprise. I came by with treats as well, which is always nice. And which was delicious, by the way, as well. And that's a hell of a rig you got there, Tops. That thing was a pleasure to take a rip off of. So yeah, it was nice having you guys come by, and we figured why not sit down a little bit and kind of it's a rare opportunity that we actually have a couple of guys, again, one long time and one new to the team to get on here and first off, what's kept you on New Millennium? Because I'm glad that you mentioned that, and that, you've went around a bit, and obviously there's some other things that might be easier to use or have maybe a couple less parts or whatever, but what the heck keeps you coming back?
It's a great question. So I've grown a lot of different environments. I have 2 greenhouses attached to my house. So I'm running greenhouse. I'm also running outdoor, and I'm running, full scale indoor. And
you sound busy.
I'm very busy. For me, the reason I run New Millennium is because it's catered towards all of the different phases of the plant, as well as having all the beneficials that the plant wants. So for me, it's the best of both worlds of, synthetic hydro and organics. And, for me, I could run living soil. I have ran living soil, and the New Millennium just is the best of living soil and then the best of hydro. In the sense of yield, and then in the sense of quality, and the sense of terps. I also do a lot of extraction. So what I love about NewMill is that it really, really pushes the oil, as well as, combining it with green sensation. You have just insane yield, insane quality. I haven't found anything that's better, and I've ran pretty much every line out there. I've even ran base salts, regular hydroponic.
Well, everybody's got to give it a whack, right? You know what I mean? And I mean, I first off, thank you for that. Thank you for that testimonial, because it does feel, genuine. And obviously at the end of the day, and even what you're doing with the terpene extracts, as we talk about a lot, we're oil farmers, right?
Oh, for sure.
And that's what's of horticultural significance, whether you consume it with or without plant matter, it's still the oil that we're really after, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, even in flower form, like I have people that, just ask me for flour constantly. Like, is your flour ready? Is your flour ready? And I'm like, dude, hold your horses here. Well,
that's a good place to be, especially these days. I mean, we all know that the market is competitive out there, especially here in Colorado, where we've been, legal since 2012. And, the black market has reduced significantly. And
for sure.
And I mean, there's a lot of people that are having trouble moving their product these days.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think a lot of it comes down to people don't look at what goes into the plant. So, from the water source to the nutrients, to how they're mixing the nutrients, the ratios, we've talked about it before, but a lot of people try to play mad scientist and invent their own, proprietary blend of things.
And I've been there too. I mean, I still have my old recipe up, almost to slap myself in the face and remind me how, I thought I was smarter than the chemist somehow. The reality is, you look at these bottles and you look at the back of them, and I truly believed at one point in time, you just had to read the back of them. It was going to tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Well, point in case. Let's look at Ruby. Full. Well, we know it's a fulvic acid. We know it's a 9-source fulvic acid. Does it say anything about that on the back of this bottle? No, it's a molly fertilizer. How much molly's in there? 0.001%.
For sure.
Just enough to get registered, right? So a lot of this stuff is, you have to work around. You have to have some workarounds. And, again, we were talking earlier too, like everything has the same 17 plant essential nutrients, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what we focus on. That's what everybody has. We focus on the plant beneficial elements and biostimulants, et cetera, right? So our whole ethos is really that phenotypic expression and genetic potential, which for somebody that's doing extracts, that's what you're going to want, obviously. So why don't we pull up the IG there, Mr. Grambo? Take a look at some of that, some of the branding on the Terpecana, which I do love, by the way. Go ahead and pick that box up and show the people out there what
show them what they want to see.
Yeah, show them what they want to see. Show them.
And then we introduced Kyle, but we didn't introduce Tops.
Yeah. Go Tops.
Yeah, I'm a little stoned. Sorry about that.
We're all pretty stoned, honestly.
No, so same thing. Kind of, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are. What and what in specifically the difference on this one is. I was interested in what keeps you coming back to New Millennium. And for you, I'm interested in what's bringing you to New Millennium.
All right. Yeah.
But introduce yourself first.
No, great. So, my name's Shane. Some of you guys might know me as Taking Tops. I've been growing for about 15 years now. I started growing in massive commercial gardens about 5-6 years ago. I started running one of those bigger gardens. I did that for a few years. And they actually just recently shut down in the last couple of weeks, which is better.
Yeah,
better than not for the public that they closed down.
There's some sweet vengeance there sometimes.
But yeah, I'm really excited to be bringing the new mill into my grows. Like I said, I had a lot of experience in the bigger grows, and they were just using a lot of base salts, a lot of lifeless, terpless weed I saw go out the doors.
A lot of biomass is what I like to call that stuff.
Yeah. Pre-roll weed.
Yeah.
So I handed that in, traded that card in for just doing my own small mom and clone room at my house. Yeah. And right now I'm just running a 4x4 veg and a 5x5 flower until I can buy a bigger space. I already pumped 60 amps into my rental garage that my landlord has no idea about. So
all right.
I'm doing about as much as I can right now. But the whole thing with me, I was using hydroponic research before, and I wanted to bring into the new mill because I have had your guys' flower from numerous people over the years. And I did notice that there was just something that I was missing there. And I formulated a few different things just with the products that I use. But I'm excited to get into the realm of what I would consider some real connoisseur research and experience that went into putting this product out to the market.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, honestly, it's taken people like Kyle. It's taken people like that have been using it long term. There's been an evolution of these products over time. I mean, it was literally white bottles with Sharpie on it, in the early 2000s, giving it straight to growers well before we put it on the market at all, and so for us, I feel like that is one of the things that truly makes us a little bit different and why I can really call it a plant specific nutrient line. And I love your experience there. And I'm going to give you a shameless plug. This is a guy saying he's trying to get in the real connoisseur stuff, and he just won second place at the DGC Cup. Come on now. Yeah, the guy grows some good herb. So.
It's good, but there's always better.
There you go.
There's always somebody
and isn't that,
doing it
I mean,
better.
Ultimately, isn't that what we're shooting for? Well, let me say this. The people that are really looking for connoisseur, or which sometimes I like to stay away from that's really just looking for genetic potential, right? The people that are willing to go that extra mile. We don't even know what genetic potential actually is. We just know that we're striving for it, or the people that are in the upper echelon that are willing to take it to the next level are striving for. For some people, chicken shit in their backyard in a pot is good enough. I've seen it. A lot of people in Maine like to do it like that. But again, now back to even the box, right? So we've got an assorted box. Why would you want one flavor profile in,
pop that open there, Kyle.
Yeah,
Because it's not just that box.
It's not just that.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
there's
and,
technically
all the
14.
grams missing, we might have smoked.
Yeah, I was going to say there's technically 14 flavors per box. These are stickers that come in the box, but we pivoted to doing it this way, just basically because we have ounce jars as well. But especially in this economy, people really gravitate towards wanting multiple flavors. So when we're selling ounces, people are like, well, what's the best ounce, or, what's the best flavor? And don't take my word for it. You have to determine what you like the best. And we have a lot of different flavors. So we ended up coming out with this ounce box that has 14 2-gram buckets in it, where you can try all the flavors and basically get an ounce of, you can determine what you like the best. So
beautiful branding,
done very well.
Yeah. Beautiful branding. The product out of it, I can assure you, is very high quality.
It's all NewMill.
There you go.
NewMill, DLI.
And so you're also running the UVs, right?
I am.
So you're also somebody that's adopted that technology very early on. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with the UV specifically? And if you think you've seen, anything different, I don't want to lead you on here, but I've got a couple specific questions I do want to ask you about that.
For sure. So actually what founded, Terpecana and this brand was the fact that the hash that we make, especially the live resin, is very runny. And that's because of the high terpene, content in the bud that we create. So I grow outside. As I said, I grow in greenhouses where at the elevation I'm at 9,000 feet in the mountains. We have very, very high, UV index and UV light. So, for me, the UVs were a game changer in terms of being able to put them in the indoor, because I'm able to get a closer end result to what I can produce, in the greenhouse and outdoor based on adding UV to the grow. Combined with the HPS lights, the UV has definitely shown, more oil production, I would say, I don't have any bugs anyway, but I'd say they definitely would help with thrips or other bugs that you might have in your grow. Jair at Dutch Lighting Innovations is a genius as far as how these were put together, the construction of them, the bulbs, and just the overall, effect that the UVs have combined with, the HPS lights. So I haven't ran them with LEDs. I've heard that they run really well with LEDs as well, but
Yeah, because they're going to couple with LEDs regardless, because it's really not a grow light per se, because it's not anything par, right? You're just finishing out the spectrum that isn't there, that we know that's there with the sun. So you get the full spectrum UVA, full spectrum UVB, a little bit of UVC, which is the cleaner. That's one of the reasons why you can't work under it, is that UVC. But that's, and honestly, the bugs thing, that was one of the things I wanted to specifically ask about, only because that's not how we marketed it. That's not even really, it's a Pandora's box when you have new technology like this, right? You put it out there, and then you go, oh shoot, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's a whole other, I can almost market the thing as an IPM product in a way, right?
Totally.
So, and this is stuff that was secondary information that we got back from people putting it out there. We never led people into that. We never said anything about that. Guy came back to us and said, bro, I had fungus gnats. I don't have fungus gnats now. I don't know what to tell you. And we said, we don't know either, but that's awesome. So, I'm not going to go as far as to say it's going to eliminate bugs or even molds and things like that. I think it's going to absolutely slow it down. And it may help really prevent it from starting as well,
For sure.
So you are using them in a 1-to-4 ratio, whether it is LED or the HPS.
Yep.
Some people run them a little bit more like 1-to-3, kind of depends on the shape of room, things like that. Obviously we put all this stuff in Calculux so that we're giving you, a perfect layout, but
I feel like the 1-to-4 is perfect. And depending on how your room is laid out, obviously, it can be different, but I've had just great results having one UV per every 4,000 watt.
Yep. And that's how we advertise. And honestly, that's kind of where we found the sweet spot. We do have the white papers that are actually coming back. That's backing up a lot of this. That's from, I'm going to butcher this name. Sorry, Jair. Vakeden University in Holland, but it's actually university testing showing consistently higher terpenes, because that's what we're seeing across the board. Sometimes we see a little bit, uptick in THC and cannabinoids, but it's really the terpenes that we see the higher amounts of. And just in general, especially when you're coupling it with, high quality nutrient line like New Millennium, you get those bigger, fatter heads. You really get things, winter just explodes those heads anyway. I've seen before and after pictures with winter frost that's tripled in size. The head size has.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well,
so
I don't know if can we talk about Thunderbloom on here or not yet?
Yeah, why not? I mean, sure.
I've been testing the Thunderbloom, and I'm very excited to basically this product to come on the market for everyone else, because what it does is it combined with the green sensation, I've noticed massive, increase in yield as far as, the size of the buds and everything else. And you can run it in conjunction with green sensation.
Yeah. You just wouldn't want to go too high EC. Obviously, that's the one thing you got to watch,
sure.
Anytime you would combine a product like that. But no, those things couple really well together. And even to give our listeners a little bit of a history on Thunderbloom, because it isn't something we've talked about. I was
going to say,
here.
Not the OG Thunderbloom.
Yeah, no. Now, here's the problem with the OG one. It worked incredibly well, but it worked so well that people, it worked too good. Now people wanted to use more of it. And you know what happened when they use more of it? Dead plants.
Yeah, they burned their shit to hell.
Torched them, bro.
Yeah.
So that got taken off the market a long time ago, which is really one of the reasons even that we started coupling the green sensation with it, because if you think about it, people look at PK appetite and think that's the bloom booster, but it's really not. Yeah. It's 0.6.9, so it doesn't really have a lot of PK. What that is really more of a companion product. So that's going to couple itself with any other P and K that it finds in the recipe, whether it's a base or a bloom booster that you're running it with, and maximize uptake, because apatite is a soft rock mineral that's a natural chelate, so it's going to maximize uptake of P and K. So I like to kind of compare it to like Bud XL, right? That like you've got the top shooter and the shooting power or whatever they use, but it's always used with the Bud XL. But the Bud XL is really just more of a companion product. So that's about the only other thing out there that I know that I could compare it to. But we definitely have a little bit different mode of action. Honestly, God, I don't even really know how Bud XL works. But as far as it's used in a recipe, that's about the only other one I know like that. But
sure,
that product is one of those ones that's a little mysterious to some people, because again, it looks like it's the bloom booster in there, but it's not.
Hey, this is a good opportunity. Kyle and Tops, they know us. They come down to the 5A offices and they are able to get their new millennium here. But if you aren't as lucky that they can come down here, you know where they can go, Jaron?
They can go to JugDealers.net.
That's right. You can go to JugDealers.net, get any of these 5A products, or you can just skip all of it and go right to JugDealers.shop. That'll take you right to the shop and get any of the products. I recommend that Slicium.
Great product.
And the new cocoa bricks, you can see that.
too.
I'm about to make the jump on the cocoa.
Cocoa.
I recommend it. So yeah, JugDealers.net, JugDealers.shop. Get your jugs.
And we'll leave this gentleman unnamed of where you got these said bugs, but you did mention, I know that
we will. It's a friend of the show.
It's a friend.
It's a friend. And guys, we've all done it. I've done it. Okay, we're going to remain unnamed because we are polite and we understand that shit happens. But you got some buggy plants. Why don't you take it from there?
So I took in some clones from a buddy, a very good friend of mine. Obviously, they weren't visible to him. He actually got clones from California, which is where they came from. Most of you guys can probably guess what they were, but they were russet mites. And I found out because it was on one of the plants, was a host plant essentially that came from California. So I know exactly. It was the Ricky's Brothers Kush actually that. And shout out to Ricky Palomino. I don't think he watches the show, but.
Does now.
His that plant had russets that was sent and it wasn't detected. And the plant that I had, started getting that fuzzy look and the leaves started to curl up just in the edges.
Oh, yeah.
And they will kill your entire grow if you don't catch them.
You don't know what you're doing.
They will fuck everything up if you don't nip it.
Because most people don't catch it early enough. And then it's got to this point, you're talking true infestation. Good luck. You know what I mean? So I definitely think prevention's huge, right? But that's not always possible. So once you get into a point where they're like that.
And I hadn't really come across russets in years. I mean, normally everything that I have is just, okay, it's spider mites or, thrips or whatever. And I'll dunk everything that I get. However, when I treated these, I didn't treat them for russets.
Right.
And it got to a point where to me, it was out of control on one plant. And I was like, okay, everything else at this point has it.
You just know. Yeah, obviously. Now it's killing the one, but it's still currently infecting
branched out. Yeah.
Yes. They're not there, and they're so small they can hide under a plant hair.
Totally. So what I ended up doing is I got the russet, the multi and the eco and used all three in combination and it's knocked them out. Now I will say, if you're going to use these products, there are heavier guns out there that you can use. Like, you can use Akari, you can use abamectin, you can use a bunch of different pesticides. Now, The problem with those is that they have different modes of action. So one's, there's like 3 or 4 different modes of action that will kill russet mites, will kill spider mites and other things. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look up, the different kinds. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I found with the Scietetics multi, russet and eco.
Yeah, that combo.
If you're spraying constantly, I'd say every other day, every 3 days, you will knock them out. Even the first spray will knock them out. But with russets, it's very tough. They breed like crazy. They hide within the plant stem to where you can't kill them all in one spray. It's not like spider mites where you can just nuke all the leaves.
Well, and like you just said, being able to spray like every other day or every day, like that's a big difference from that is a big jump from a lot of these other pesticides.
Well,
where you can only do it like once a week or twice a week tops. Like when you have a problem like that, you need something where you're in the
you
garden
really want, and you want to be able to have something that's not going to stress your plants out so horribly bad that all of a sudden you're killing them. And it's like, I'm killing the damn plants. Am I killing the plants?
You're killing all the other
bugs?
Bugs too. Like,
right.
And obviously like I said, I don't have any bugs as far as that's concerned, but if you're in a greenhouse or you're outdoor, it's something you really have to be conscious of, right? Like the last thing that I want to do is kill all of the local bugs with a pesticide that's going to have a residual of 7 to 14 days. I'd rather use, the russet or the multi or the eco or all 3 combined in order to target the pests that I'm going for. And that's like my big problem with a lot of people if they have like root aphids, for example, and not in a licensed facility, but if you're outside, they're running like mallet or they're running
imidacloprid or something like that.
So the problem with that is that you're also killing tons of other things outside
in the ground,
and then it gets into the water supply. I mean, if you read most heavy gun pesticide labels, they'll say toxic to fish and wildlife, do not get in streams, do not get in other water sources. So that's why I've really switched to using these pesticides. I wouldn't even call them pesticides.
Yeah, because they're all, it's botanical extracts, botanical oils. Exactly. It's all 25B, so it's all certified under that label, which means it's safe for food and everything else as well. So that's the other thing, folks. So you can use it in your vegetable gardens and all that as well. I also like it, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Top. So you can use it such a high frequency. I'll be honest, they don't really stress the plants out. I've used a lot of stuff that'll just, even some of these botanical oils or like a cinnamon extract or something, it burns the shit out of the plants. It burns the shit out of them.
Yeah, I had worked in gardens where you had to go get test fitted every year because you're all like, dude, the pesticides that you're spraying in some of those massive facilities, like that shit will kill you.
So why don't you talk a little bit about, your experience with that? And obviously you don't have to name any names, but obviously it turned you off to want to do that. What got you into wanting to work in commercial, or was it just an opportunity? I mean, did you think it was going to be something different than it ended up being?
Oh, so when I was a kid and like I first got caught smoking weed, it was like, I was like, no, like this is what I want to do like for a living. Cause like, this is like the age of like where like Prop 215 in California.
Right. You knew it was out there. And where are you from originally?
I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. I heard something in
Jersey.
So I knew that like,
love me a good Jersey roll, man. That whatever that shit is, that Jersey pork roll. Yeah.
Oh,
man, I don't know, man. I love that.
What is that? Taylor ham?
Oh, the Taylor. Yeah. Ooh,
Taylor ham, pork roll, whatever you want to call it.
Ooh, that's good on a bagel on the beach. Anyway, go on.
So I always knew that obtaining that kind of life was possible, but it just kind of seemed like foreign to where I was at.
Interesting. And I find that interesting in some ways because like I'm a little bit older. So like that was never a thought at all, at that formative age. There was no job.
Just outlaw.
Yeah. There was no, and that wasn't, the life I was necessarily trying to live. I wanted to go to school. I got degrees. I did shit like that. So it's like, it's not possible that there was no industry yet. You know what I mean? It's just kind of wild to think.
And also too, at that time, the guys that were like growing the weed, I saw like, those are the guys that are like making the cash too. Cause this is like, early 2000s. So like the growers were doing good back then.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, all right, dope. So like, I'm going to get into that for a job. And I just, took me a while. You know, I did odd end jobs through being a teenager and stuff. And then after the passing away of my father, we didn't have a restaurant anymore. I was like, oh, I don't like have any reason to stay here
tied
now.
It's because obviously you were very tied to that being your dad and being in the restaurant. And so you're like, I'm out of here.
I came here. I had a cousin here and I just immediately got into a kitchen to start getting some money back.
So I bet say it was the easiest job and quickest job you can get. Yeah.
Started working in a grow at like I was doing half-time, like part-time days. I would work at a grow in the morning and then I would work at a kitchen at night. And then COVID happened. So then kitchen job was gone.
Yeah,
so then I was 2 feet into growing, got into dispensary. At that time, I was already doing the half and half and started to see like what was going on. Was in the major grows at that point and started to see the
underbelly.
Yeah. The nasty side of the beast.
Right. Now, would that just all be, would that be pesticide usage? Would that be how product was treated, how people were treated? Was that illegal activities? Was that all of it? Yeah,
all the above. I didn't really see much of the illegal activities, quote unquote. That
they don't let you see that.
Oh no. But we all know a lot goes out the back.
There's a lot of shadiness, y'all.
That stuff's all happening either in the labs or in the accounting books. You know what I mean? And like I was just there to play my part.
Right.
But yeah, definitely mistreatment of the employees. I saw a lot of that. Because a lot of it is just like, oh, well, you should be grateful to work in this industry. And it's like, well, no, I should be grateful. Like if I can pay my rent and go to the grocery store once a week, I'd be grateful for that.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
There was a time in Denver where you could not get a dispensary job, a crappy minimum wage job, because everyone wanted the industry. We all thought it was Valhalla and it was actually just retail.
Well, and they held that over everybody's head.
They
it's like, oh, well, you should just be stoked to be. And like I said, that's not true. That's a fallacy. You know what I mean? Like, no, I need to make my bills just because I'm stoked to work here.
Right. And I do. I mean, here's the reality. We're seeing the cream rise to the top, right? We're seeing the companies that actually care, treat their employees well. I mean, I can tell you a facility I was in recently. It was ran very skeleton. It was ran very well. Everybody was on salary. They had their job to do. They were in and knocked that shit out in 4 hours a day.
And it's
you know what I mean?
Totally.
And like
salary is key.
Just hammered it. They were a great team. They knew what they were doing. Everybody jumped in, bam, 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 and got out.
It's such a basic business. Like you open a food truck, right?
Right.
If you pay the guy $18 an hour in Denver, that is not livable wage. Now you have to have a camera in your food truck because this guy's going to potentially try to steal from you. Like he's going to be,
at least food.
He's going to take his food. What if just out the gate, just blow people's mind? What if you just pay the guy $25 a fucking hour?
Right. Well,
you know what I mean? Then the guy's happy to be a part of something. Like you show him that there's potential growth within the company. Like this potentially could be your truck one day and we could buy more truck. Like you can get in on.
Sure.
Have to,
that's a great analogy.
You got to provide people with like some light at the end of the tunnel. If you just dangle the carrot in front of the people, like I said, now I have to like watch you all the time. Make sure you're not trying to stab me in the back.
Right.
Well, and it is interesting to do that too. I mean, when I've worked in many facilities, managed many facilities, and on the cannabis side, and you'd be surprised how many employees would pretend to work. So they would be like, "Oh, we're on the MED cameras. Let's go and defoliate or trim or whatever." And if you pay salary. Not only are they motivated, and I mean a good salary,
sure,
they get things done quicker.
Absolutely.
They feel like they're actually set to manage something versus just, like basically watching the clock and saying, 3 hours today I've made less than $50.
Right. I can't even buy a bag.
Yeah. I spent $13 on Wendy's. So now I'm going home with, $100.
Yeah. It's amazing how hard people will work to not work. It's like that.
I made a career out of it, Jaron.
Anything but work is, what.
It's like, well, let's look like we're working. Well, damn it, now you're working.
Like,
really?
Rambo, why do you do so many things? It's like, I don't want to do construction.
For sure.
It's like, why are you working so hard to make it look like you're working? You just work.
I think that's what a lot of like these owners of not dispensaries, but more like, OPCs or MIPS or whatever, they don't understand because they don't actually know the process. A lot of them, I'm not, not everybody, but
sure.
I'd say more often than not, if you own a facility here in Colorado or in any other place of the country, You got into it because you thought it was a big moneymaker.
Oh yeah.
You don't necessarily consume. You're just there to do it. Now, when you're paying people, you're thinking, okay, my head grower needs to make the most money, when really the head grower usually knows what they're talking about, but it's all the other people around them that are doing
the actual work. Yeah.
So that's
true story.
That's my big thing is like, if you have a facility and you don't know what you're doing, your weed's always going to be shit. It's always going to be the worst. Because you don't put in the money for the lights, you're talking to every lighting manufacturer and seeing which one can give you basically free lights and rebates on LEDs.
Fire in, fire out, right?
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it does.
So everything we just talked about is why I got out.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
They were putting dollars in front of people's health. You try to provide them the right solutions and they look the other way. And with the company that I had been with that just exchanged hands, and I've seen it happen with a lot of these companies because they've seen the writing on the wall for a long time now. They were just going to ride this till the wheels fell off.
Oh yeah.
They weren't going to keep putting money into it and keep.
Oh no.
Like they're going to sell. They're going to sell. Like they've been banking since weed became legal here. They've been crushing it.
Right.
And now they're just trying to get it off into somebody else's hands and let them pick up
Get it for a buyout. Just wait for big ag to come in.
That's what they think, and that's
whether that's going to happen or not is
I've seen facilities that I drive by all the time that, go 1 year to one company and next year to another company, next year to another company. And it's because number one, the facility's built like shit.
Right.
They have leaks in the roof or they have,
Well, what about like even Area 420? How much of that's actually operated at this point?
Oh,
I don't think much.
I don't think much, right? I mean, really, but there's a lot that's there. The infrastructure.
You guys want to explain what Area 420 is to the international viewers?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Area 420 is kind of like it's a big plot in southern Colorado.
420 acres, baby.
In a town called Moffett. And they tried to change the town name to Cush, and it actually failed. But the biggest problem with Area 420 is water rights. From my understanding, people there who have plots can't get wells drilled, and they don't have rights to use the water commercially.
Right. And the reason being is that's a massive potato growing region that these farmers have had for a long time. I mean, water rights are, especially obviously in the farming world in a place like that, which is essentially high desert,
just
semi-arid.
In Colorado in general, having water is massive.
Right. So these farmers aren't just giving it up. They barely have enough for their potatoes.
A lot of them are getting water trucked in. So they're getting, 5,000
that's not sustainable.
to 10,000 gallons trucked in and their cisterns filled, which the companies delivering water are making a ton of money, but they also have to have the rights to deliver it. A lot of people bought land there without this being disclosed. And from what I've heard also, there's a lot of lawsuits that are being filed against the area. It's basically like
it's a collective of sorts.
It's a collective,
right?
yeah. It's but it's a collective of people who buy their own little plot that they could then get a license for, and then
you become part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to say like a commune in the sense of you try to help out the other people that are around you, that, are also trying to do what you're doing. And there's also, been a lot of people who have moved there who are foreign. Not saying it's bad, but they, are like expired visas and, lots of.
So it becomes problematic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Area 420, I mean, it's a very cool area in this
beautiful area
and a great idea and a great concept. It's just like making that whole thing a reality is, I think, more challenging than people originally anticipated.
I've said, many times that, just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it actually works in practice. Yep. I remember working at the grow shop, and I devised the perfect system with 8 plants, 2 plants in, 2 plants out every 2 weeks. That was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. And I sold people on that for a long time. And then I did it myself, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm doing everything all the time. This is stupid."
Yeah,
I'm literally trimming. I'm literally doing everything all the time. Like, hold on, like, no, just space it all out, and do it every 2 months, whatever. But it's like it looked great on paper.
Well, like perpetual.
So does communism.
Does and I've actually been to a few facilities that do harvest perpetually, and the problem with it is that if you have any issues, whether it's PM or bugs or whatever,
it's too much mix.
You're always going to have them.
And
your facility,
dude, it was crazy. So the way that we worked was like fucking animals, dude. Like, we would, we were good at our jobs and we did what we had to do, but like we harvested a room on like, start harvesting on Tuesday. It would take the harvest team 2 to 3 days to get all the plants out of there. So a room would be emptied on Thursday or Friday. They'd get in, they'd scrub, do all the cleaning in a day. And then we would come in on Monday and flip. So like, and like, if you're having problems in veg, like our veg was like, I think we had 1,800 plants in veg.
Wow.
So like, cause you're vegging for all like 6 or 7 of the flowering rooms in this one veg room. So now it's like, okay, well, we had bugs, we harvested, we chopped, we quote unquote cleaned. We're still having this same problem in veg. All right, let's bring in another 320 plants. So now it's like, and you're putting the plants on dolly carts, wheeling them all the way through the facility, like through the trim area where like people are working on the.
That sounds sanitary.
It's like, yeah, this is phenomenal. We're just bringing the problem from one room all the way across the facility.
And I think you saw that a lot in Colorado with these legacy grows, right? I mean, do you guys remember people growing in office buildings and hallways and like the craziest shit?
They had warehouses on I-70 here that were literally like
a converted office building.
Well, it was a massive, like basically like a U-Haul storage area,
right?
That each one would have its own room, and they would rent out the places. I mean, I had buddies that ran in them, and they're all over.
Yeah,
and there was that time in Colorado. I'd say probably 10 to 12 years ago.
The same time when dudes were walking into dispos with hockey bags.
That was the backpack days as well. Yeah. Yes, those were good days.
Like you got 10 dudes in line. Like, oh, these guys are all in line at the dispo. Like, why do all 10 of those guys have fucking CCM hockey bags going into the dispo?
Yeah.
All those guys
well, first off, the smell-proof bags didn't exist yet. Nope. Hockey bags is the biggest bag you can get. It was easily obtainable.
Well, and it was kind of crazy once everything switched to rec here too, because a lot more people came here. We were like the hub of the country.
It was
in the sense of the first recreational.
People were taking weed vacations.
Dude, there was all of you could get picked up at DIA. The whole nine.
Well, and there was one lounge here, North Denver, right off, like kind of near I-70, that was like super run down and like old, like shag rugs and kind of nasty.
Yeah.
It was the only
old
place,
hippie.
Yeah, it was the only place that you could smoke in Denver. Or in this area, because it was in the unincorporated area and there was no lounges. There was
that's that place over on Washington, right? I bake.
There you go.
I bake.
I didn't want to say the name, but yeah.
Well, they're gone now, so it's all good.
That was a rundown spot, and it was out there, and the owner was kind of like
a little sketchy.
Twas the days.
You remember that spot?
Yeah. There was an illegal brothel next door.
Yeah,
totally would not doubt that shit.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. But everyone would say, "Where do I go smoke?" And when I was selling weed, I had a facility that had 3 licenses in one building, and I was like, "You got to find somewhere. I can't like
this is not my job.
I
just tell you the weed.
Tell you where to smoke.
I cannot tell you what to smoke.
Not on our property.
And
place.
After
Get out
I
of
went
here.
to iBake, I was just like, I can't ever recommend this place. It's so. First of all, it's so far out there. Second of all, it's just grimy. And
just funny because Kyle's like, there was this shady spot you'd go smoke, and I go, sounds like I paid.
I know the spot.
I was a cannabis refugee. I was super tourism when I got here. Everything, and I got there. It's like, it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm going home.
Yeah. Well, I will say the weed was better in the backpack days, man. The weed that was on the shelves because here's the thing. So living in Fort Collins, even at that time, we had that time where there was a few major growers in town up in the canyon, and they've all gotten burned out pretty much at this point. And unfortunately, the wildfires allowed people on property, and then they saw a lot of things they wanted to see for a long time. But anyway, there was really a pretty small group of growers that were basically taking care of all of northern Colorado and beyond, right? They all knew exactly what they were doing. They all had very specific strains. They were all connected. Once it became everybody and their grandma growing, the average bag that you got on the street went way down.
The quality.
Way down.
And it still is.
And it still is marginally come back up, but I mean,
I'd say the weed looks better, doesn't smoke. It's the same smoke quality.
Well, Professor P, shout out to Dynasty Genetics. He's a buddy of mine, and he was talking about how back in the day the cough would actually come with a recipe. You didn't just get the cut; you actually got, which at that time was it was age old. Yeah. That's what everybody ran it with. Wow. It was age old and Sunshine 4, and come to find out that thing is a magnesium whore.
Yeah.
Thirsty.
So yeah, it just absolutely loves magnesium. And guess what? Age old is very high in magnesium. So even the cough we were getting at that time, I haven't seen that cough in forever because it's not run on that recipe.
Yep.
Because now we're talking phenotype, right? Which is what? Genotype plus environment, nutrients being part of the environment.
Totally.
So, it's like when the grow off and, RIP grow off, when they, you'd see 50 different samples and it looked like 50 different strains.
Of course. Yeah. That's why I love NewMill. Just going back to that. It's, I've grown, outside, greenhouse, indoor, and you will get different expression just from the environments.
Sure.
But when you have the different nutrients, I mean, you can run the same environment, same dialed in AC, same lights and everything. The nutrients is really the standout factor as far as I'm concerned. It is a game changer. I mean, New Millennium for me, even going to other lines was like, what am I thinking?
Why am I doing this?
I had the sauce.
Yeah, I had it. I was right there.
Yeah,
I want to see the difference between your flower and my flower without the UV.
You'll see.
I'm very interested to see
he's
that.
got the UV.
Yeah.
I don't have the UV.
Yeah, and even talking about that, so that's going to be a potential selection pressure a new selection pressure, right? That, okay, well now, and I'm just, wow, my head's kind of going to place. So now let's see, maybe we're selecting varietals under the UV that we know are going to perform better
for BHO
or BHO but so it's like, oh, all of a sudden, man, again, it's a Pandora's box. Like I was telling you, you're like, okay, this is what I can guarantee. This is the research that's been done behind it. All this other stuff that's coming out
is open.
Yeah, it's open, and we're writing the SOPs.
Well,
as we speak.
Also, I know you mentioned on one of the previous shows with the mayor of, what was the town again?
Montezuma with Leslie. Shout out to Mountain Orchid, our very good friends, Mountain Orchid.
I loved that episode, and I loved the facility that she had,
Dude,
especially
awesome.
with the stage in there. I thought that was the coolest thing.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I'm in the talks of maybe getting out there performing.
That would be lit.
I would love to tell jokes to plants.
What I loved about that
Bunch of hot air.
They're better comedy fans in Denver.
You guys spoke a lot about selecting varietals for 10,000 feet. So, she popped a bunch of seeds and really found what worked at that elevation. Now, for me, outdoors or even in greenhouse, I don't know if it matters as much indoors. That's a huge factor.
Huge.
Is the elevation and the early freezes that we have as well.
Oh, yeah.
So finding strains that work really well in the environment, but also having the environment catered to those strains. And what I liked about what she had as well, and I think it was her head grower or engineer who put it up, was the that you could raise the lights and that you could see how many feet they were from the canopy. So
nice.
Things like that were really,
that's attention
really
to
cool.
detail.
Yeah, that's Anthony, and that's a high attention to detail. He's a hell of a craftsman, and they've actually recently just switched over. A little selfless plug for the Apex. They've got the DLI
LEDs.
Apex LEDs that are running, which are high bay LEDs, right? So we've got the Spider style, which is the multi-layer, which is either low ceilings or in a tiered situation, or the Apex, which is the high bay that you can couple with the HPS as well. Same footprint, everything else. So it's a true 1-to-1. 2100 micromole swap out.
Wow. So I'd love to run those in my facility as well. I'm still a big believer in HPS, and I think kind of like hydrocarbon extraction, there's a lot of people who are switching over to LEDs. The only thing I don't like about LEDs compared to the HPS lights that I run now is that the HPS lights, I can swap the bulb out and they're just as good as new.
That's the degradation factor that we talk about that's there. And I don't care if it's our lights or anybody's lights. Now, what matters is how fast does it degrade, of course. And we've done whole episodes on it and had Jair and really delved into that. And it's something that we've been educating very hard on. And I couldn't agree with you more. You can put on a new reflector and a new bulb. Those ballasts, man, honestly, God, they're meant to be like 20-year ballast on the DEs.
Oh yeah.
And so I still think, but again, I will say it kind of depends on the strains you're running, right? If you're running older school strains that inevitably were selected under HPS, I'm going to want to run those under HPS. Maybe sometimes I'm going to find one that I run under LED and I really like the expression, but it's not going to be the same.
Totally.
It's like, why is everybody searching for sour diesel? Because they're growing it under LED.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing against LEDs. I mean, I built my facility specifically for HPS, and I'd be happy to switch. However, for me, I just have things so dialed.
And honestly, I still think for efficiency and everything else, because here's the other thing: LEDs might start out a bit more efficient, but 3 years down the road, the HPS actually becomes more efficient in a lot of scenarios, depending on the degradation factor, right?
And for most people too, a lot of it, has to do with their environment that they have, right? So people didn't build their building like I did with 14-foot ceilings from bottom plate to top plate,
right?
Which is perfect for the HPS. And the way that I have everything laid out with the UVs and everything was like specific.
And your 10-ton air conditioner.
Well, and if I had the LEDs, I wouldn't need nearly that much cooling. I mean, I can change the temperature in my building from, it can go from 80 degrees down to 62 degrees in 2 minutes.
You can see they guys got a giant facility here.
And you do fortunately, have the winters too, where you kind of catch up on that too. And then now you're able to use the light for the heat. You know what I mean? So like you kind of get that balance a little bit.
I don't do that actually. What I do is I have fresh air intake on my AC. That's automated with a basically opening and closing,
like a flap.
Yeah, flap, and it'll bring in cold air to help, like basically minimize the cooling and the stress on the air conditioner.
Yep.
But that's one thing I've learned in growing for a long time is never ever cheap out on the air conditioning. Don't go under.
Don't
go
do it.
Overkill because worst case scenario, you want to be able to take it as cold as you can.
Sure.
And in the hottest days when it's 100 degrees out or 95 degrees out, I love to have an AC that can pull down quickly and can really cool the air.
Oh, yeah.
I love what you just said though, because like as a grower, you're never going to complain about like being able to bring your temps down to like 50 degrees, like between like the week 7. And if you're going to run like a plant, like 9 weeks, like, dude, if I can get those temps down to like 50 degrees for those last 2, like I'll always take that.
It would be nice. And if you think about it,
anthocyanins.
Sure. And think about evolutionarily speaking. And of course you couple that with winter frost too, and you really get the colors popping.
For sure.
But yeah. And again, what is it in the fall? Well, it gets nice and cold. You get a frost or two in even here, much less from 3 years out, you get a frost or two in before you actually get that 2 months of flowering time in. If you're not starting flowering in Colorado here till I tell people you can start using flower nutrients August 1 just because it's a hard date. Yep. But reality is shit's not really flowering until August 15th.
You're going to have to go the start date that I've realized where I'm at is August 6th. There you go. That's day 1 to me of the basically using decision and then rock and bloom.
So I've actually read, and if you look at it, that basically where you're at is the same latitude, but also the same altitude as the Hindu Kush Valley, specifically that whole area and through Kuchara and all that in southern Colorado. So super high UV index. But again, isn't that interesting to think about even using the UV potentially in selection of cultivars for outdoor, being able to select them indoor and knowing that they're going to perform better outdoor.
Yep.
And again, for people, that's one of the reasons I say pop your own beans too, because even way beyond LED and HPS, whatever your room is, whatever your microclimates are, the best plants you can grow are going to be ones you select in your environment because you're selecting them for your environment. Now, I can honestly say that the way I've always grown, I've never grown from seed. I've always been a cut guy, but you still have to sift through them because there's definitely ones that I put in there I know is a verified cut. I know but it just doesn't like wet feed or just doesn't like what I'm doing. It's more the irrigation strategy than it is nutrients or anything like that. That's just some are a little more sensitive the way ran my bucket system, and there were ones that were just like, well, it's a great strain, but doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, totally. even just for like me and him, like some of the strains that I have like are going to work great for him.
Right.
Like you'll never see them in my 5x5. I have them for clones available for people.
Right. If you want them, I got them.
I can't grow them because they're going to be 8 feet tall, and like I don't have the space to do that.
I'm growing a bunch of his genetics right now that I got for the first time. Like the Monkey Spunk, which he won second cup in DGC Cup with, or second place. I'm growing that. I'm growing, I think the grapes and cream. I'm growing.
And the grapes and cream is short, stout.
Yeah, and by the way, Tops won, lost by 1 vote.
That's right. It was one vote.
Token.
We almost did.
Well, and his girlfriend forgot to vote.
Maybe the most famous story in DG Cup history.
She had 1 token in her pocket.
His girlfriend kept 1 token, and he lost by 1 token.
I'm going to say you won.
You see what God just did?
I'm going to make an executive decision here.
Hilarious story,
dude. We're going to go ahead and do a co-champion here.
Co-champions.
We'll be back We'll be back next year
On
with
the
the Mendo
NewMill.
cheese from the NewMill.
Yeah.
He's going to win next year on NewMill.
It's going to be fascinating. I'm excited to watch this go down. I believe you can.
Yes,
I know
yes,
it will.
Yes. No, and again, congrats on that. I know you work hard, and I know you put the passion into it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to sit down with you guys, because one, it was a welcome surprise, and two, it's great to get some actual users on the show to be able. So I can sit here and push the stuff all day long. I can say why it's great all day long. I can go all over the place, and I do as much as I can with my herb to be the proof in the pudding. But it's really the people out there that have pushed this brand.
Well,
we've educated. They're the ones that have pushed it on their people.
I think the biggest thing is that people are trying to step over dollars to pick up pennies, right? So they'll go to the grocery store and say, "Oh, this bottle is $100, but this bottle does the same thing for $20," or these salts I can get from, Athena, or these salts I can get from just base salts.
Right.
And it's all the same stuff. The price of weed is down so much. Why do I care? Now,
Right.
I'll tell everyone out there, if your weed is fire and it's really good and you know what you're doing, the price is up, because there's so much garbage and horse food on the market.
Hear that, people?
You need to make sure that your quality, you have to do everything that you can, even if it requires spending a little bit extra money, if you're a good grower up front, to grow the best quality that you can. There's a lot of Athena weed on the market. There's a lot of, canna weed on the market. There's a lot of base salt weed on the market from facilities that, just want to be cheap.
And I think where a lot of people get mixed up too is just growing fire in 2024 isn't even enough anymore. Like back in 2000, you have to have somebody that's running your marketing.
Well, that's the other thing. You look at this box. You know what I mean? It's like no longer.
If you're not doing that, you're not even like able to compete right now.
I know. No,
it's sad to say, but like people don't really want to hear it.
You can have the best herb in the world if you don't put it in a pretty package.
Yeah.
Like
For
it's
sure.
not enough anymore.
It's
like,
not.
and that's marketing. I get it. It's part. It is what it is. But it's crazy how much. I never really thought it would go down that road that hard. I always figured. But again, I've been in this one shop in California that must have had 200 different brands in there. I mean, it was like one of those wacky.
Like you were in like a
shops.
Toys R Us, but
dude,
a weed shop.
I mean, it's like, oh my. First off, how do you roll over that many brands? Like
We have
that's
that here in Colorado, Oasis.
Well,
Okay.
we did too. I mean, Chlorophyll had a ton of stuff. Bone.
Yeah. They're a hydro shop. Yeah, that is true. In fact, the old Chlorophyll had more random ass shit in there, like random lines. I was like, what the hell? I've never even seen this line. What is this?
Then they had more stuff in the back too.
Oh God, yes.
Like, oh my God.
Oh, imagine the poor saps that had to go through that when they sold it.
Yeah.
Well, and by the time you sell any of it, how long's it been sitting there?
Well, that's the thing, and whether that's in a retail, nutrient situation or a retail dispensary situation, it definitely. I mean, it's like don't go to a bar that's got 100 beers on tap and pick the weird one.
Yeah.
God knows when the last time anything went through that line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like think smart. You know what I mean? Don't go to Holland and get a Budweiser. It's gonna taste like shit. Get a Heineken.
Yeah.
Heineken tastes like shit here as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, and I digress. No, I thank you guys very much for coming in, and it's nice to have, like I said, some real deal users, some new users. Welcome to the team, Tops. Really appreciate it. It was fun showing you guys around a little bit today. The extract was absolutely fire. Appreciate that.
Of course.
And
thanks for having us on, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Till next time. And why don't you give people a reminder one more time where you guys are at on social media if they want to reach out, if maybe they even want to box, anything like that.
Yeah, for me at Terpecana Extracts and Tops.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at taken.tops.official or at globfather.official. Either of those pages, you're going to get in contact with me. So glad to talk with you guys always, man. Taking some massive globs. Do that once the camera goes
All right, off to the glob room. Thank you guys for listening very much. Till next time from the Jug Den. And remember, you can always find any of these products and merchandise, etc. They're at jugdealers.net or jugdealers.shop. Talk soon, folks.
Have a good day,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. Shout out to Gabe. Miss you, dude.
Miss you, Jug Dealer.
Yep.